All right. Hey, welcome, welcome. So this month we're talking all about how to master your scheduling and planning. So if you haven't seen this month's lives, click on the video tab on my page and just, you scroll down and see what we've talked about so far. So here's the thing. Um, I think that this is a topic that causes so many headaches for families that really it's a major cause of overspending, blowing our budgets, getting frustrated. And so I want to teach you how I do my meal plans in 15 minutes or less every single week. And this is part of my Sunday planning ritual. Um, and so as I'm looking at the week going forward, as I'm planning out my week, I also do our meal plan for the week. So I think the first step to this, if you do not have like a family favorites list, that is the first step. And my family favorites list is a list of stuff that I know my family will eat. They're like our go-to meals. And I probably have, I think I probably have about 50 things on this list. So for example, like if I'm thinking about chicken, okay, I know my family eat chicken parm, they'll eat grilled chicken, they'll eat chicken sandwiches, they'll eat barbecue chicken. And so I just kind of I list a whole bunch of chicken dishes. If I'm making meatballs, they'll eat Italian meatballs with spaghetti, they'll eat Swedish meatballs, they'll eat meatball subs, they'll eat meatballs on pizza. And so I just kind of I just make a list, and don't worry about if you can't think of everything, you just add more stuff to it. Keep this list on the fridge. You can keep it an Excel document on your computer. You can keep it a list on your phone, whatever, if you want to do a Word document, that's fine. But keep it somewhere where it's really easy to access and really easy to update. These are things like macaroni and cheese, grilled cheese and tomato soup, hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe chicken, if you all eat chicken fingers, it has to be something that everyone in your house will eat. Okay, that is really critically important. So if there's something that you really like to eat, but nobody else likes to eat it, it does not go on the family the family list. If your kids love chicken nuggets and there's no way that you or your spouse are eating chicken nuggets, it doesn't go on the menu. Okay, it has to be the family friendly list, or the family favorites list is something that everybody will eat. Okay, that is really, really important. And so putting that list together and generating that list is the key, because you'll never think again, oh my God, what are we going to eat this week? Because you're going to look at the list. Okay, now there may be things that you might see a recipe and go, oh, we should try this at some point. If you find a recipe like that, print it out, okay? Or put the link in your family favorites list. So if you're keeping it digitally, literally grab the link to the recipe and attach it to your list, okay? And then you can try one of these, during the week, okay? But having that list is critically important, because this is why I can get through meal planning so fast, okay? And at this point, there's so many things that I think to make, I have to have the list, or otherwise we're just gonna eat the same things every single week. I know I can make tacos every single week and everybody in the house is happy. I know I can make spaghetti every single week and everybody in the house is happy. I can make grilled cheese and tomato soup every single week, right? So there's certain stuff that I know that my family will eat on repeat over and over and over again. But I don't necessarily want to do that. And so having this list is really important, because it makes me think of variations of things that I can make. Okay. Like I said, and it's not going to be perfect. Don't wait until it's perfect. Get as many things out of your head as you can. And if you need, help brainstorming this kind of stuff, leave a comment below. And happy to help you with that. I'd love to know, if you're watching, what is the one thing that your family could just eat every single night and everybody in your house would be happy. Because let's help other people think of some things on the list. Okay, so that's the first thing. So start putting that list together. And if you listen to the live that I did a couple days ago when I was talking about, making everything digital. If you make this digital, you'll have it wherever you go. And so if you're like, oh crap, I forgot to make the list, and you're at the grocery store, you can literally pick out the things that you're going to have for dinner and go grocery shopping. Okay. So digital, I think, is a really good way to do this. But if you don't want to do it digitally, put it on your fridge, or put it somewhere where when you do your meal plan, okay, because you need to put your meal plan somewhere for the week, that it's accessible. Okay. So once you have that list, the next thing, and I think the biggest mistake that people make, is they don't look at their schedule before they do their meal plan. So we have some nights around here that I've got time to make dinner, and I can make a leisurely dinner and spend some time and make something. And then we have some nights where I'm booked solid right up to dinner time. And so it's really important to know what your schedule looks like. So typically Mondays and Wednesdays, Eric has taekwondo. And he and Jeff don't get home until probably about 6:15. And so those are nights I like to take the opportunity that I'll go for a walk while they're at class. So typically Mondays and Wednesdays, I either want to make something that's really, really quick, or I want something that is in the crock pot. Okay. Because that gives me the time to say, okay, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go for a walk while the crock pot is finishing up. You could also, if you feel comfortable doing this, which I don't really feel comfortable doing this, like you throw something in the oven. If I'm going to be here and working, then I can throw something in the oven. But I don't want to do that if I'm going for a walk. Okay. So that's why, like, understanding like what your schedule is, what it looks like, kind of what, like what is your availability to make food. If you're really busy in the morning, you might not have time to throw something in the crock pot. So you might need something that you can throw in the crock pot at lunchtime. Right. And so looking at your schedule and saying, okay, what type of meals do I need on this particular night? Okay. Like grilled cheese and tomato soup, I can get, I can make that for my entire family in like 15 minutes or less. And so if I need a really quick dinner, that's a really good one to make. I can get spaghetti typically on the table in 15 minutes. I get macaroni and cheese on the table in 15 minutes. So you kind of have an idea of how long different meals take, right? And one thing that I have too is I have variations. So like I can make meatballs fast on the stove, or I can make them slow in the crock pot, right? Same meatballs, it's just the way that I cook them differs. And so when you kind of think about your schedule, then you can look at your master meal list and you can pick things out. Now, I always make sure that I plan based off of our schedule, and I always build some flexibility in. So typically what I do is I try to make one or two things a week that are going to have some leftovers. Okay. And I think this is another thing too. I think some people waste a lot of food because they make big meals every single night and they have lots and lots of leftovers that their family will never eat. I know I used to do that. And so I have to think about, okay, what are two things that will have, or what's one thing that will have leftovers and two that don't? Okay. Or if I know that we don't have a lot of stuff in the house for lunch, then I'll try to make two things that have leftovers and one that doesn't. But it's really important just to make sure that you're thinking in your mind about, okay, do we need leftovers? Do we not need leftovers? Do I want to double batch something so I can freeze something? There's lots of different ways you can save yourself some time, but the basics are just saying, okay, I'm going to look at my schedule. I'm going to look at my list, and I'm going to pick out 4 things that I think, my family will eat, or 5 things, or however many nights you want to eat at home. Okay. Like that's the easiest thing, and just make it in small enough batches so that you don't have leftovers. If you want to have leftovers, or you only want to cook 3 nights a week, then you got to think about that. Like, okay, what can I make that's going to give me leftovers for the rest of the week? Okay. And then the other thing is like, be flexible. There are nights where we come home and I'm like, you know what, I really don't want to eat this. I'm gonna see what else is on the meal plan. And so I always like to make sure that I have a couple things that don't require defrosting, that I can literally just either cook straight from the freezer, or I can throw in the crock pot in the morning, or I can just grab out of the pantry. So things like spaghetti, you can just grab out of the pantry. Grilled cheese and tomato soup is something you just grab out of the fridge in the pantry. Sometimes we'll have breakfast for dinner. Again, something that doesn't require defrosting, which is pretty quick. And so having a couple of those quick dinners that feel like, I completely forgot that I was supposed to defrost this thing. I was supposed to defrost ground beef so we could have tacos. I need something else to make in its place. And so having a couple dinners kind of in your back pocket that you can make pretty fast is a great way to save. So one of the things I really like to make, and my family absolutely loves it, is I will get like the big flat, like chicken breast tenders at the warehouse club, either Costco or BJ's. And they're frozen, like breaded chicken that's not yet cooked. And so I will get those, and the pieces of chicken, they're humongous. They're like this big. And I'll get those and I'll put them in the air fryer to cook. And I'll make some pasta and just heat up some jarred sauce. And typically I can make that dinner in 20 minutes. I don't have to defrost anything. I don't have to think about it. And I know everybody's going to eat it. And so that's kind of one of those dinners that I keep in my back pocket for when, the plan doesn't go right, or, just whatever, I forgot to put on whatever I was supposed to do. So having a couple meals like that, just kind of, they're not really in the plan, but if the plan goes awry, you've got something to make. Frozen, like a frozen lasagna is really good for something like that. I usually have like a batch of enchiladas in the freezer that I could use for something like that. And so just kind of having those backup meals is super, super useful. So again, just to kind of recap the four things. So number one, have a family favorites list. Okay. And your family favorites list is a list of foods that everybody in your house will eat. Okay. And you know that you could make it and everybody's going to eat it. Okay. And for some families that list might be short, right? For some families that list may be long. But having that list just makes meal planning so easy. And if you can do it digitally, so you can always add to it when you think of things. Number two, look at your schedule. Make sure that you review your schedule. You know what your evenings look like. You know how much time you have to make dinner in the day so that you can plan accordingly, which is number three. So if you don't have a lot of time to cook, think crock pot, think quick meals. Are you going to have time to defrost something, the night before? Or are you going to be, out? And so plan according to your schedule, because it's typically when we forget about our schedules that we just say, screw it, and we ignore the meal plan. And then number four, be flexible. So have some meals in your pocket that don't require defrosting, don't require a lot of prep, that you can get ready in 20 minutes or less, so that you don't order takeout or delivery on some of those nights where, you forget to enact whatever you have planned. Okay. Now for me, I write my dinner plan. So I have a Passionate Penny Pincher home planner that I write my meal plans in every single week. You can also use like a regular planner and just, as you're planning out your days, just write in your meal plan. So that way you have it. You can put it in your Google Calendar so that everybody knows what you're eating that week. That's okay too. But my home planner stays on my counter, so that way, like, everybody can see it and everybody knows what we're eating. And so I think that's really important. And then we do, every single week we have and we have at least one night that is just leftovers. And so that way we can clean out the fridge. It's a night, I usually do it on Thursday nights because Friday nights we go out. We always go out to dinner on Friday night. So I usually do it on Thursday night to kind of clean out the fridge before we go into the weekends. And so that's super helpful for us. Some people kind of like to do it over the weekend so they don't have to cook over the weekend, but have a leftover night, a fridge clean out night. You know, you just kind of like, you can either just kind of put everything out, or you can say, okay, I made extra of this so that we had, you know, we have the meal that night. So however it works for you. Sometimes we do buffet style where we literally like, okay, here's everything that's left over. What do you want, Eric? And he'll pick his thing, which is usually macaroni and cheese. That's usually his go-to for leftover night. But you know, make it fun. Like you can make it like, hey, it's buffet night, and we take everything out of the fridge that, you know, we want to eat. And, you know, here's the salad, and here's vegetables we need to use up, and, you know, here's some different leftovers. But that can be a lot of fun and make it a little bit more interesting for your family. And it gives kids the opportunity to pick and choose, which is pretty cool. All right, so I hope this was helpful for you. Again, let me know what your family's favorite, like their go-to family meal that, you know, everybody in your house would eat. Just kind of help whoever's watching to, you know, to get some ideas in case, you know, their list is small. And remember, just keep adding to the list as you think of things. So maybe you're at a restaurant, and you're like, oh my God, everybody likes this. You know, I can make this at home. And don't forget things like soups and stews and, you know, family favorites like tacos and spaghetti, because those are usually big hits in every household. All right, guys, thank you so much. I hope this was helpful, and I'd love to know how meal planning goes for you. All right, take care. Bye.